Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And today, I'm going to be talking about the Forgotten Realms, of all things. And that is because, of course, there is a couple of new... Oh, no! Domino! Domino, what's going on? Okay, there's something going on out there that she's very interested in. Crazy cat. What a ridiculous cat. You knocked over Arrows of Indra. You knocked over the Old School Companion. You know, those are important books. That's the Old School Companion, too. That's the adventure guide. It's part of why I put it up there. And as for Arrows of Indra, I put this up here because, apart from being my first real OSR game, it is a kind of exotic setting. And the Forgotten Realms, I've always liked the Forgotten Realms in a certain way, because they're at their best when they are an exotic sword and sorcery type of setting, which has a lot of different stuff and not just your standard medieval Ren Fair thing. But sadly, it has often been reinterpreted, or not reinterpreted, but rather the focus has ended up being on those parts that are just basically medieval Renaissance Fairland, right? And that's a bit sad to me, because the original box set of the Realms presented a wide open setting with tons of areas that you could fill in as the DM. And they presented a whole bunch of areas that were really different than, say, Greyhawk, right? They weren't that type of fantasy. They were a different type of fantasy. They were much more sword and sorcery than Greyhawk was. Right, Greyhawk was more like your standard fantasy, and this was an exciting thing. Both of those features, right? That it was not medieval world necessarily, and that it had it was enormous, and that it had tons of room for you as the DM to make the realms your own. Now that disappeared, of course, right? So by not too far into second edition. Suddenly every square inch of territory in the Forgotten Realms had been covered by some kind of a book, because they massively overproduced stuff, both novels and adventures, So it became something different, not necessarily as good. And here the question is now, so now there's the 5th edition Realms books that have come out. You'll note I don't call them a world book or a campaign book exactly. And the first thing to mention here is that this does not mean, D&D is back, right? Wizards of the Coast is going to keep making stuff, right? This project, I know for a fact, had begun 3 years ago. It's been in the works for a very long time. And I think its original purpose, if you look at my recent video on the VTT, so Wizards of the Coast planned to move D&D essentially into being a virtual game, not a game you played with books. And I think that this was meant to be a transitional product originally that would have give certain reassurances to gamers, and would probably have been a very big part of the digital presence that they had in mind for the VTT. And that's part of why it looks a little bit different. It's not like most campaign books up till now. This is the thing. It does not look like a standard 5e campaign book, right? A campaign book in 5e doesn't look like any older editions campaigns, right? A campaign book in older editions was a book or a box set or something like that showed you the entire world. It showed you this country is here and this country is there, and these are the NPCs and these are the monsters and these are the bad guys and the good guys and all of that stuff, and then maybe had a couple of adventures in there, right? A 5e campaign book is a book that has 24 adventures meant to get you from level 1 to level 20, when you play them. Each one lasts a session, you know, and they're all set vaguely in an area of a world that was not a new. That is not a new world. That was a world that was already made by Wizards of the Coast, because 5th edition people had no idea how to make worlds, right? The closest thing they got to was like the Radiant Citadel, and it was a disaster. So I think that is what they had going on there, right? That this product doesn't quite look like that. It doesn't look like Candlekeep Mysteries. It doesn't look like the Ravenloft book, right? It has a different style to it that was not like what came before. And I think that style was intended to fit the virtual tabletop, okay? And I will explain why as we go along, okay? But the important thing is, this is not a sign that Wizards is still believes in Dungeons and Dragons, or is still planning to support Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't mean any of that, because essentially this is an old product that was already on the line, right? So if what happens next could matter, but this doesn't really matter in that sense. So, also, well, you know, these two books, I think they're called the Heroes of Faerun and the Adventurer Guide to Faerun, or something like that, Adventures in Faerun, something like that, for the Forgotten Realms. They've come out. They are not real campaign books in the traditional sense in any way, right? Like, the two books, one of them is meant for the players, the other one is meant for the DM. The player's book is basically a grab bag of a whole bunch of even more classes, semi-classes, powers, feats, magic items that will bloat your campaign even further in the ultra-bloated era of 5.5 edition, you know. And that's basically all it's about. And then the Adventures in Faerun book is meant for the DM. And okay, I'm gonna say, first of all, let's start with the fact that it's not a real campaign book. So a real campaign book, if you're talking about, if it's the Forgotten Realms, then you should cover the Forgotten Realms, the whole place, right? This doesn't do that. And it's just like, none of the 5e books ever did this, right? They never managed to put out a complete world book, right? They just can't, apparently. It's just beyond their millennial abilities. So instead what they have is they give you a very broad overview of the Forgotten Realms, and then they focus on like 5 regions, right? Just like Icewind Dale, the Moonshaes, Kalashan, all the most stereotypical regions, right? And those are the 5 areas where you get like more in-depth stuff that gets presented, you know. Now, is everything about this terrible? I'm not going to say it is. One of the things that I've looked at online is that incredibly, and this is where we're getting to what I'm talking about, the virtual tabletop. They have in the DM book a collection of like something like 50 adventures, and those adventures fit on 1 page each. So they are kind of shortly described adventures that you as the DM can flesh out a bit more, you know. They run the gamut of levels, right, from beginning to end, right, and they take place in different places, right. So that sounds incredible. And when I first heard that, I was like, wow, you know, like that sounds like they're almost, you know, getting rid of the kind of campaign story arc that most of the 5e adventure books were about, right? This kind of lead you by the nose nonsense. And leaving it up to the person, I'm like, that's great. You know, like they're kind of rediscovering the sandbox or something, right? And then it hit me. Wait, when did this come out? It came out when they were making the VTT. When did this come up, rather? When was it first thought of? When they were making the VTT. Why would the adventures in the Forgotten Realms book and the Forgotten Realms book be different from every other event, from like, you know, the Wild Beyond the Witchlight, from Candlekeep, from, what is it, Fritzhaven or whatever. I always forget the magical college, the name of the magical college on front. Then Radiant Citadel. All of those have like these lengthy narrative-based adventures. This has one-page adventures. It is not because they've like rediscovered the wonder of the open sandbox, sadly. It's because this is a format that a DM could use for a combat scenario in a VTT. Okay? I had said this long ago, right? That the virtual tabletop, if it had succeeded, back when we didn't know if it was going to succeed or fail, I was betting on failure, but as my history will say if you look back at the videos. But it could have succeeded. I had said that if the VTT gets off the ground, it's going to bug a lot of the 5e players, some of the worst 5e players in my opinion, but still, it was going to bug them because it's not made for the type of adventures they want. They want slice of life bullshit adventures, right? And yes, you couldn't do that. You could do like a version of The Sims, I guess, in a D&D VTT. So that could still kind of work for them. But the default for like something that actually feels like an adventure at that point would be these highly tactical scenarios, because suddenly you've got that map there. You're not doing theater of the mind anymore. You're using the tabletop figurines, basically, virtual figurines. And so that's going to make it a much more wargamey type of preposition. And that means the adventures are going to change for that. That's the stuff that they will want D&D writers to make, not the kind of, you're late for the wizard prom and your sex life is a hot mess, right? No, not that, And this is exactly what that is. These 50 adventures, one-page adventures, that's what they're for. They would have been, if there had been a virtual tabletop, these were meant to be adventures that a DM could run on a virtual tabletop. That's what it was for. Okay, and imagine the virtual version of this product instead of the book version. It would have probably all been front loaded, right? They would have also provided you with maybe they would have charged you extra. For just $1 more, you can get the combat map for Adventure 29, that sort of thing. So, nevertheless, I still think, incredibly, that the one-page adventure at least the ones I've seen, there might be some that are horrible. There might be some that are super woke or that are just awful, because I haven't seen them all. I haven't read the whole book, right? I'm looking based on what has been shown online in publicity about this book. But the ones I've seen look pretty damn good. Like, they're actual adventures, so maybe that's selective. I don't know. If you've got this book, tell me. I hope you don't have this book. If you've got it, tell me. All right. So some of that is good, Then there's the artwork. And here, again, I was surprised to see a bit of a mixed bag. Now, there are some absolutely terrible pieces of art. And there are definitely some pieces of art that are there exclusively to make a point about diversity or DEI sort of stuff, right? And there are some pieces of art that are horrible, and all three of those go together, right? Horrible, DEI, and just generally awful stuff, right? Diversity nonsense. So, like, for example, one of the worst pieces I've seen that's supposed to be in this book is this image of like this black deformed gnome or halfling. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's that it's meant to be a hideously deformed gnome or halfling, black, as an African American halfling, like that sort of. That is. Like, there's some reason why she looks that horrible. Of course, a black woman, right? Strong black midget woman, right? If she's meant to look that horrible because of like some context, or if it's just that the Tumblr artist was so absolute garbage, right? Like such shit that he could not, or they could not, probably they or Gir could not draw to save their lives, but they got the position anyway because of some kind of nepotism. But it's horrible. It's one of the worst pieces of art I've ever seen, right? Then there's another one of this like surfer girl, girl boss surfer elf that's like on a a windsail surfboard, and again, there the art is just so bad. It's like it's not the same kind of bad, because it's not intentionally hideous. Like the surfer elf girl looks kind of okay, but the proportions are a little wrong. But then, like, the perspective is horrible, right? Like, it's just completely, it's warped, right? It looks like this is a person for whom the Renaissance was just something that happened to other people, right? Because they never got the concept of perspective. And then there's like the section on the banner at night, right? Which is a banner at night is a type of feudal title that belongs to ethnic Europeans. So, of course, the banner at night is this heroic, plate mail clad, metal bedecked, strong black man, of course, right? Because that's what it has to be. So there's a lot of that trash going around there. But then there's also a few pieces I've seen that are kind of good. One of the ones that is allegedly in the book that's probably the best one I've seen is one of like some drow, which, at first I was kind of pleased by that, but then I realized, oh yeah, because now they all have to be heroes, right? So those drow that are in the book they're good guys, right? It has now become officially established in Forgotten Realms setting lore that 98% of all drow are just wonderful people, right? They're really good, they work hard, they have good jobs, they have good family lives, they don't commit any excessive amounts of crimes against humanity, right, or anything like that. And there's a 2%, but they're we're not going to show them anymore because that would be racist. Right? So that's the deal with the drow. But the artwork, that art piece looks pretty good. It's not bad, right? There's a few pieces that I've seen. There's some other ones, some that show like areas of the kind of like landscapes, and some that show some adventure types that aren't bad. So I don't know if that's nature healing or if it's just a coincidence of this particular product that was obviously once meant to be something else and now has no real purpose except to like keep WotC on light support. What are you looking at out there, Domino? What has got you so excited? She's bouncing out front and back. I don't know what it is with this cat. She still doesn't give a damn about me recording. I don't know if you guys, those of you who remember Meatball, Meatball really knew how to ham it up for a camera, but not this one. No. Hey, what are you, now she's trying to attack me. Hey, okay. I am sorry I called you unresponsive. Don't start biting me. Hey, we're not wrestling right now. This is not time for wrestling, kitty. Hey, no wrestling. Stop it now. Stop it. All right, my cat is threatening to kind of wreck my entire video here. You stupid cat. Ow! Stop it. All right. I love this cat. I love her so much, even though she's so ridiculous. Ridiculously violent. Why are you so violent? Don't be so violent. Oh, don't stop trying to bite me. Stop trying to bite me, you crazy cat. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. So just I've basically covered the most important parts. There's a couple of things to add, though. First, the cost, right? Like, each of these books is like $70 if I'm remembering correctly. It's insane. Those prices are insane. Okay, granted, I'm sure that's relatively well made, but that doesn't mean $70, really? That's crazy. You can get way better products for a lot less, right? Even if you like those adventure products, those one-page adventures or whatever, if you're looking for a good adventure book, check out the Old School Companion 2. It's got 28, is it? 20, I always forget. It's 26. It's got 26 sandbox-style adventures that are based on either medieval history, medieval legends, medieval lore, sometimes medieval stories or poems or songs. And it's great. It's got tons of really exciting adventures for you. Right? There's better. Obviously, there are way better products than anything Wizards can put out nowadays. But if you really want the Forgotten Realms, even this is not great for the Forgotten Realms, right? First of all, the people who are writing it are not really trustworthy. So, like, I don't know very much about what they've put in the details there, but they're not trustworthy authors. And secondly, geez, my cat did a number on everything here. And secondly, there are even better WotC products than this, right? Now, when it comes to the Forgotten Realms, the first edition box set is the one that always has the biggest place in my heart, because that's the one that felt like wide open, that had like it was a completely new thing, right? Now it's really good at capturing the sense and spirit of what the original Forgotten Realms was meant to be, which was this kind of rough-edged sword and sorcery thing that then later kind of went away because all the books, all the stories, all the adventures ended up focusing on like the medieval land part of Forgotten Realms. And at the same time, though, if you want something that is like the most practical Forgotten Realms book for completion and for like being able to give you what you need to really run the game well, it's 3rd edition. The 3rd edition Forgotten Realms book is the one. It is, you know, it happened to be one of the best products that was made in the 30 era for D&D. And it is definitely the best Forgotten Realms guide, you know, like overall. It's got a lot more technical stuff. It's of course got, you know, a bunch of feats and things from 3rd edition, but you can kind of adjust those, and so it's got great information, you know. So that is the one I would recommend if you really want to get the Forgotten Realms. She's still attacking me. Domino, you cannot behave like this. Do not behave like this. Be good for the people. Be good for the people, Domino. Oh my gosh, look at you. Look at you. Look at the trouble you're in now. What kind of trouble are you in? You need some chiropractic, kitty. Oh, you silly kitty. What a goofball. What a goofball. All right, guys. So basically, that is the whole of the story as far as what I've seen so far in the Forgotten Realms. There might be more news coming out. There might be something truly outrageous in there that will spark another video. But this is it for now, right? Like, there's some very interesting details about this, and I think that my own scoop for this video is the fact that I believe this was a product that was originally engineered to be the first big virtual tabletop product. And that's why it behaves weirdly compared to previous 5e or 5.5e products. So that's everything for today. Currently smoking nothing because I've been wrestling with the cat. So we will see you